What would you do if you heard furniture moving in the apartment above you every night at 2 a.m., but that apartment has been empty for 3 months? Would you investigate? Call the police? Or would you do what most people do? Convince yourself it's nothing. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 stories where people ignored the warning signs in their own homes, the sounds, the locks, the cameras, and by the time they realized something was wrong, it was already too late. Welcome back to No One Noticed. If you're new here, this channel focuses on horror stories where the warning signs were there, but nobody paid attention until it was too late. Before we start, quick reminder, this video contains 3 separate stories. I've added timestamps in the description so you can jump to whichever one interests you most. But I'd recommend watching all 3, because sometimes the scariest part isn't what happens, it's realizing how easily it could happen to you. Let's get into it. The building manager found me in the hallway at 4 a.m. with a kitchen knife. "What are you doing out here?" I pointed at the ceiling. "Someone's moving furniture up there. Been going for 2 hours." She stared at me. "That apartment's empty. Has been for 3 months." My hands were shaking so bad the knife kept tapping against my leg. I'd heard it. The dragging, the thumping, something heavy scraping across the floor directly above my bed. Same thing every night for 2 weeks, always at 2:14 a.m. She went upstairs to check. I followed. When she opened the door, dust rolled out. The air smelled stale. Nobody had been inside in months. We walked through empty rooms, dirty carpet, Venetian blinds with missing slats, no furniture anywhere. See? Nothing here. But I'd heard it every single night. Then she showed me something about the building layout. The apartments were staggered. The unit above mine wasn't directly above mine. It was offset over the hallway and my neighbor's place. If sounds were coming from above my bedroom, they weren't coming from that apartment. They were coming from inside the walls. My throat closed up. I tried to swallow, but couldn't. Just stood there staring at the empty room while she kept talking about building codes and structural design. All I could think was, if it's not coming from up there, where is it coming from? I moved to Brookline in August, 27, finally done with roommates who left dishes in the sink for weeks. The rent was steep, but after 6 months of doubles at Mass General, I'd saved enough. The building was old, 1940s construction, thick walls, the kind of place that felt solid. My studio was on the 2nd floor, kitchen alcove, bathroom with original tile, 2 windows facing the street, everything I needed. First week was quiet. I heard traffic outside, but nothing through the walls. Couple next door kept to themselves. Family downstairs had kids I barely noticed. I worked 3 12-hour shifts a week. Days off, I'd sleep in, run by the river, actually cook instead of eating hospital food. 6 units total. Management company handled everything through email. Maintenance was quick, no issues. Met my upstairs neighbor once in the hallway. Late 30s, dark hair. Never made eye contact. I'd hear his door close at 5 a.m. when he left for work. Sometimes I'd see his car pulling out when I got home from night shift. October was when it started. I woke up at 2:14 a.m. to scraping sounds, like a chair being dragged a few feet across the floor above me. Figured he couldn't sleep, moved something. I rolled over. Next night, same time, same sound. Longer this time. By the 4th night, I was watching the clock, waiting for it. It came every single night after that. Always between 2 and 2:30 a.m. Heavy scraping. Sometimes one long drag, sometimes short bursts like something being shoved back and forth. I mentioned it at work. My coworker asked if I'd said anything to him. I hadn't. Didn't want to be that neighbor who complains about noise. But it kept happening, always directly above where my bed was. So I moved my bed to the opposite wall. That night, the dragging moved too, still right overhead, different part of the room now. I started recording it, voice memo app on my phone. At 2:16 a.m., the dragging started. I hit record. Played it back in the morning, clear audio, heavy rhythmic scraping, something being pulled across wood. I had proof. That afternoon, I caught him leaving for work, asked about the furniture moving, kept my voice friendly. He looked confused. I go to bed at 9, gotta be at the warehouse by 5. Haven't moved anything since I moved in. I showed him the recording. He listened, frowned. That's not from my place. I'm dead asleep by 10. That night, I stayed up, lights off, phone ready. At 2:11 a.m., footsteps started above me, slow, deliberate, pacing. I ran upstairs, knocked hard. The footsteps stopped instantly. No answer. I knocked again, pressed my ear to the door. Nothing. Went back downstairs. 30 seconds later, the dragging started again. I called the building manager. She showed up 20 minutes later, annoyed but willing to check. We went upstairs together. She unlocked his door, walked through every room. He was asleep in bed, TV off, lights off. Woke up confused when she turned the light on. What's happening? The apartment was silent, nothing out of place. She looked at me. You sure you heard something? My jaw hurt from clenching it. Took me a few seconds to get words out. Just nodded. She apologized to him. We left. I stood in the hallway after she went downstairs, staring at his door. The next day, maintenance came. Found nothing wrong. No structural issues, no animals, no pipes, nothing. My neighbor filed a complaint, said I'd been harassing him. Management sent me a warning letter. I moved out 2 weeks later, broke the lease, lost my deposit. Before I left, I asked about the previous tenant in the unit above mine. Elderly woman, lived there 40 years, died in the apartment, natural causes, August 14th at 2:17 a.m. I moved in August 15th. That last night when we checked his apartment, I'd looked at his bedroom. The furniture was arranged differently than before. His bed had been moved, right above where mine used to be. Last week I drove past the building. Didn't plan to, just ended up there. My old unit was dark. The one above had lights on. Someone was standing in the window. Just standing there. Looking down. Found a new place across town. 3rd floor. Nobody above me. 6 months now. No unexplained sounds. 3 weeks ago, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Photo of my old building. My former windows were dark. In the window above, a silhouette, standing exactly where I used to hear the dragging. The text, she's still looking for something. I blocked the number. Told myself it was my old neighbor getting back at me. But the photo was timestamped 2:14 a.m. And he moved out a month after I did. I know, because I checked the rental listings one night when I couldn't sleep. The unit above mine is vacant again, has been since November. I think about going back sometimes, just to see. But every time I get close to that neighborhood, my hands tighten on the wheel, knuckles go white. I turn around before I get there. Last night, I woke up at 2:14 a.m. No alarm, just opened my eyes, clock glowing green. I lay there listening. My apartment was completely silent, nothing from above, no dragging, no movement. But I stared at the ceiling until sunrise. Couldn't look away. This morning I realized I've been doing that for weeks now, waking up at 2:14 every night, always the same time. Even though there's nothing above me, even though I moved. The dragging stopped, but I'm still listening for it. Yesterday, I was looking through old photos on my phone, deleting stuff to free up space. Found the voice recording I made, the one with the dragging sounds. I'd forgotten I still had it. Played it without thinking. The dragging was there, clear as I remembered. But there was something else, something I hadn't noticed before. Under the scraping, quiet, almost buried in the background, a voice. I turned the volume all the way up, put the phone to my ear. Someone was whispering over and over the same thing. I couldn't make out the words at first, played it 5 times. Finally caught it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I deleted the recording right there, didn't even think about it. Then I emptied my trash folder to make sure it was really gone. But I can still hear it in my head. That voice, desperate, searching. Last night at 2:14 a.m., I woke up again, stared at the ceiling like always. And for the first time, I wondered, what if the sounds weren't meant to scare me? What if she was trying to tell me something? What if she lost something in those walls when she died, and 40 years later, she's still looking? What are you listening for when you wake up at the same time every night? And what happens when you finally understand what the sounds are trying to tell you? The officer showed me the footage for the 3rd time. You're absolutely certain this wasn't you? The timestamp said 3:47 a.m. My front door opening from inside. Someone walking out, standing on the porch for 11 seconds, then going back in. The figure was wearing my gray hoodie, my Adidas slides, had my build, my hair. I was asleep. That's not me. He paused it when the figure turned slightly, face hidden by the hood and shadows, but everything else looked exactly like me. Who has keys to your apartment? Nobody. I live alone. He played it again. That's when I noticed my dog wasn't in the video. Chowder followed me everywhere. Every time I went to the door, he'd be right there, tail wagging, waiting to see if we were going outside. But in this video, no dog. Where was your dog? In my bedroom, on the bed. He was there when I woke up. The officer closed his laptop, looked at me for a long time. I'll be straight with you. This looks like you leaving your own apartment. If you're saying it's not, we have a serious problem. My mouth was so dry, my tongue kept sticking to my teeth. I tried swallowing, didn't help. He asked if I wanted to file a report anyway. I said yes. He said he'd look into it, but I could tell from his face he thought I was wasting his time. I installed the doorbell camera 3 months back. Package thieves were hitting the neighborhood. My Portland apartment was in a decent area, but deliveries kept disappearing. The doorbell was easy to set up. Motion alerts to my phone, cloud storage for footage. Within a week, I'd caught the thief, some teenager from down the street. 5 neighbors turned in the same video. Kid got arrested. After that, I mostly ignored the notifications. Mail carrier, neighbor's cat, wind triggering the sensor. Just me and Chowder in the apartment, 3-year-old golden retriever. Best friend and alarm system rolled into one. Barked at everything. Strangers, trucks, leaves that looked wrong. Lower unit of a converted house. My own entrance, small yard, 1 bedroom. Landlord lived upstairs but worked nights, barely saw her. Been there 2 years. Quiet, close to trails where I could take Chowder on weekends. The footage saved automatically. I'd scroll through sometimes when I was bored, watching people walk by, cars passing, nothing interesting. Then I started seeing clips from 3 a.m. First one was mid-September. I was checking why Chowder had barked at midnight, scrolling back through the night's recordings. Found a clip at 3:47 a.m. Clicked it. Watched someone who looked exactly like me walk out my front door, stand on the porch, walk back in. I didn't remember doing that, but I'd been exhausted, working doubles. Maybe I'd gotten up half asleep, checked something outside, forgot about it. Made sense. Until it happened again. 3 nights later, same timestamp, 3:47 a.m. Same thing. Walk out, stand there, walk back in. I set an alarm for 3:45 to see if I was sleepwalking. Woke up to the alarm, Chowder asleep next to me. Stayed awake, watched the door from my bedroom. At 3:47, my phone buzzed. Motion detected. Opened the app, watched the live feed. My door opened. Someone in my clothes stepped onto the porch. I was in bed, Chowder next to me, but someone wearing my hoodie was standing outside. I grabbed the bat from my closet, crept to the living room. The door was closed, locked, chain still on. Checked every room, every closet, under the bed. Nothing. But the footage was right there, time-stamped, real. I sat on the couch, hands shaking, started scrolling through old recordings. Found 6 more clips, all 3:47 a.m., all identical. The bat was still in my hands. I kept gripping it tighter, then loosening, then gripping again. Couldn't make myself put it down. Chowder came over, put his head on my knee, the way he does when he knows something's wrong. I pulled up the most recent clip, watched it frame by frame. The figure moved exactly like me, same stride, same posture. Paused it when they turned toward the camera. The face was in shadow, but I could see the outline, the shape of the jaw, the way the hood sat. It wasn't just someone wearing my clothes. It was my face. Next night, I stayed on the couch, view of both the door and my phone, Chowder on the floor beside me. At 3:42 a.m., his head came up, ears forward, staring at the door. I gripped the bat, watched. Nothing moved. 3:47 a.m., phone buzzed. Looked at the live feed, door opening, but I was staring right at it. The door was closed, locked, chain on. On my screen, the figure stepped out. I looked up, door still closed. Pulled up the recording from 30 seconds ago, watched the door open, watched them step outside. Then I heard footsteps above me. My landlord was at work. I'd seen her leave at 9 p.m. Her apartment should be empty. The footsteps moved across the ceiling, toward her entrance. Her door opened, closed. I went outside, looked up. Lights off, no car. But someone was standing in her window, looking down at me, wearing my gray hoodie. I called 911, told them someone broke into the upstairs apartment. 2 officers arrived fast, searched the whole place. Nobody there. They came back down, asked if I was okay. I nodded, couldn't get words out. One of them said maybe I'd seen a shadow, a reflection in the glass. After they left, I stood in my doorway for a long time, legs weak, had to hold on to the frame to stay upright. Chowder pressed against my leg, just stood there with me. Police reviewed everything. Dozens of clips. Door opening at 3:47 a.m., figure in my clothes. Always 11 seconds, every time. They interviewed my landlord. She'd noticed clothes missing, hoodie, shoes, sweatpants, thought she'd misplaced them. Then she checked her own doorbell footage. At 3:47 a.m., same night I recorded the figure on my porch, her camera caught someone leaving her apartment, wearing her clothes, going downstairs toward my door. Police put both feeds side by side. Figure left her place, came down the stairs, disappeared from her camera. 3 seconds later, my camera showed my door opening. But the person leaving her apartment wore her clothes. The person leaving mine wore my clothes. Police said probably 2 people. Maybe someone had copied our keys. Maybe it was coordinated. But both our doors had been locked. Both cameras showed no forced entry, no picked locks, no damage. Doors just opened. The detective said he'd seen something like this before. Faulty wiring in an old building, doorbell cameras glitching, playing old footage mixed with new. Didn't explain the missing clothes, though. I moved out in November. Every time I'd open my door after that, I'd think about the footage. Every time I picked up my gray hoodie, I'd stop, hold it, stare at it, put it back, grab something else. My landlord left 2 weeks after I did. Said the building felt wrong, sold it to a developer who's tearing it down. I saved all the footage before I left, still have it on a hard drive. Sometimes I still watch the clips. I pause when the figure's face is closest to the camera, zoom in as far as it'll go. Always in shadow, but there's something in the expression, something I recognize but can't quite place. Last month, I installed a new doorbell camera. Different apartment, different neighborhood, different city. Checked the footage last week. There was a clip from 3:47 a.m. Door opening, someone stepping out. I was asleep, Chowder in bed next to me. Watched the figure stand on the porch, 11 seconds, go back inside. This time, when they turned toward the camera, the angle was better, less shadow. I could see the face clearly. It was mine. But I've never sleepwalked, never had blackouts, never lost time. And Chowder would have followed me. He always follows me to the door. I deleted the app yesterday, unplugged the camera, took it down, put it in my closet. Last night, I woke up at 3:47 a.m. No alarm, just woke up. Lay there in the dark, listening to Chowder breathe. Got up to use the bathroom, walked past the front door. The chain was off. I know I'd locked it before bed. I always check, 3 times, every night. Put the chain back on, checked it 4 times to make sure. This morning, there was dirt on the welcome mat. From outside. Small footprints. My shoe size. Who leaves our homes at night while we're asleep? And what are they doing while we're gone?
My wife was standing in the doorway at 3 a.m., baby monitor in one hand, our daughter in the other, face completely white. Someone was in here. I heard them. I got up, heart already pounding. Where? I don't know. I grabbed Lily as fast as I could, but listen. She held up the monitor. Through the speaker, breathing, slow, steady, coming from the empty nursery. I pushed past her, hit the lights. Everything looked normal. Crib, changing table, rocking chair. Nobody there. But the breathing kept coming through the monitor. I walked to the camera above the crib, little red light blinking, recording. Unplugged it. The breathing stopped. We stood there, silent, Lily starting to fuss. I plugged it back in. 10 seconds later, breathing started again. Pulled out my phone, opened the monitor app. Live feed showed the empty nursery, just furniture and closed doors. But the audio was crystal clear. Someone breathing. Then through the speaker, a whisper. "She's getting so big." My wife's face crumpled. Tears started, but she didn't make a sound, just bit her lip so hard I saw blood. I yanked the camera's cord out, threw the whole thing into the hallway. The breathing stopped, but I could still hear it in my head. That whisper. Someone had been watching our daughter, watching her sleep, watching us. And they'd been doing it long enough to see her grow. We moved to the house in March, 2 months before Lily was born. 3 bedrooms, Chicago suburbs, 1980s build, nothing special but solid, in our price range. The nursery was the smallest room, soft yellow paint, white trim. My wife spent weeks on it, picked every detail. Crib, mobile, elephant curtains. Baby monitor was a gift, fancy Wi-Fi one. Camera, night vision, 2-way audio, temperature sensor, connected to our phones. Could check on Lily from anywhere. I set it up the week before she was born, mounted the camera, tested everything. Worked perfectly. First weeks were chaos. No sleep, constant feeding, learning everything on the fly with a tiny human who needed us every second. The monitor became essential. We could see her sleeping, hear when she woke, check the temperature. My wife would wake up and immediately look at the app, watch Lily for a few minutes, make sure she was okay. I did the same. We got comfortable with it, part of the routine. Until my wife heard someone else. After that, things changed. She started checking the app constantly, during the day, even when Lily was right next to us. I'd catch her staring at the live feed, just watching, not blinking. Asked her what was wrong. She said nothing, just wanted to make sure. But I could see it in her face, the way her jaw stayed tight, the way she'd jump when her phone made any sound. Something had scared her. Bad.
3 weeks after that first night, she mentioned hearing sounds again. Not breathing, movement, like someone shifting weight, floorboards creaking. I checked the camera mount, made sure it was tight, tested the audio. Everything seemed fine. But she kept hearing things, little noises at night, a cough, a sigh. I said it was probably interference, Wi-Fi signals crossing. Maybe a neighbor had the same system, our app picking up their audio. She seemed okay with that explanation, for a while. Then, one morning, she showed me her phone, hands trembling slightly. Look. She'd been going through recordings. The monitor saved everything to the cloud. At 2:23 a.m., a shadow moved across the nursery wall, fast. Just a second, but definitely there. Looked like someone walking between the camera and window. I watched it 3 times. The shadow was clear, human-shaped. Car headlights, someone driving past. We're on a dead end, and that window faces the backyard. I didn't have an answer, just held her phone, watching the shadow cross the wall again and again. That night, I stayed up, monitor app open, watching the live feed. Nothing happened, but I couldn't sleep anyway. Kept staring at the screen, waiting. At 4 a.m., I finally closed my eyes. Woke up 2 hours later to Lily crying. My wife was already in the nursery, holding her, staring at the camera. She didn't say anything, just stared. 2 weeks later, My wife woke me at 1:40 a.m., sitting up, phone out, face lit by the screen. "Someone's in there, right now!" I looked at her phone. The feed showed the nursery, normal, Lily sleeping, nightlight glowing. Then I heard it, humming through the phone speaker, a lullaby, soft, gentle. My wife wasn't humming, she shook her head. It kept going. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the app. Same feed, empty room, but the audio was clear, someone singing to our daughter. I grabbed the bat, ran to the nursery, threw the door open. Nobody. Lily stirred but didn't wake. Silence. Checked the closet, under the crib. Nothing. My wife came to the doorway, still holding her phone. "It stopped when you opened the door." I went downstairs, checked every window, every door, all locked. Set the alarm, came back up. We sat in the nursery, watching Lily sleep, listening to nothing. At 3:15 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected. Looked at the feed. Someone was standing in the corner, right where I was sitting. But the corner was empty. I looked at the spot, then my phone, back to the corner. My throat kept closing, had to force myself to breathe. The figure on my screen moved, stepped closer to the crib. I stood up, looked around. Nothing there. But on the screen, the figure was leaning over Lily.
Called the monitor company in the morning. They said we'd been hacked. Someone accessed our camera remotely, playing audio through the speaker. Walked us through changing passwords, resetting everything, two-factor authentication. The tech said it happens all the time. Hackers scan for unsecured monitors. Some think it's funny, others have worse intentions. I asked what he meant. Long pause. Sometimes they're learning patterns. When you're home, when you sleep, what rooms you use. Sometimes it's the first step to something else. My stomach dropped, actually dropped. I sat down hard. We unplugged the camera that day, bought a simple audio monitor, no Wi-Fi, no app, no internet, just a transmitter and receiver. 3 nights later, my wife heard humming again, through the new monitor, the one that wasn't connected to anything. I went to the nursery, nobody there. Picked up the transmitter, held it to my ear. A woman's voice, humming. Then words, so quiet I almost missed them. "I'll keep her safe." We moved 2 months later. The real estate agent said we were overreacting. Old houses make sounds. New parents are exhausted, probably imagining things. She didn't hear what we heard, didn't see what we saw. Before we left, I checked the property records, previous owners, deaths, police calls. Found nothing. Whatever was in that house, it wasn't in any database. It was just there, watching, waiting. And we'd invited it in when we plugged in that camera. New place now, 4 months in, different city, different house. Lily 6 months old, sleeping better. Still using the old audio monitor, no Wi-Fi, no app, no internet, just a transmitter and receiver. 3 nights later, my wife heard humming again. Through the new monitor, the one that wasn't connected to anything. I went to the nursery, nobody there. Picked up the transmitter, held it to my ear. A woman's voice, humming. Then words, so quiet I almost missed them. "I'll keep her safe." New place now, 4 months in, different city, different house. Lily's 6 months old, sleeping better. Still using the old audio monitor, no Wi-Fi, no app, no internet, just a transmitter and receiver. Last week, I was putting Lily down for her nap. Found a toy in her crib. Small gray elephant, soft, button eyes. Asked my wife if she bought it. No. Called both sets of parents. Nobody gave us an elephant. I threw it out, didn't tell my wife where it came from. Watched the garbage truck take it 2 days later.
Yesterday, it was back. Same spot. Last night, I heard the humming again. This time, I went quietly. No lights, no sound. Just stood in the dark hallway. The humming was coming from inside the room, not the monitor. Someone in there, standing over Lily's crib, singing. I opened the door. Empty room, Lily asleep, the elephant tucked next to her. I'm sitting in the nursery right now, 2:47 a.m. Lily's sleeping. The monitor's on the changing table. I unplugged it an hour ago, but I can still hear breathing through the speaker. My wife's asleep down the hall, doesn't know I'm in here, doesn't know what I'm hearing. Last week she mentioned wanting to get a new camera monitor, said the audio-only one isn't enough, wants to see Lily while she sleeps. I told her no, because whoever's watching our daughter doesn't need a camera to see her. They're already here.
So let me ask you something. If you heard furniture moving in an empty apartment above you, would you investigate? If you saw yourself on your doorbell camera but knew you were asleep, would you call the police? If you heard breathing through your baby monitor, would you unplug it? Or would you try to find out who was on the other end? Because here's the thing about these stories. They all started small. A sound, a shadow, a whisper. Things you could ignore if you wanted to. Things you could explain away. Until you couldn't anymore. What warning signs are you ignoring right now? Before you click off, let me tell you what's coming next week. 3 more stories. But these ones are different. These are about people who didn't just ignore the warning signs, they went looking for answers, and they found something they weren't supposed to find. One involves a landlord who painted over every window in the house. Another involves a neighbor who bought groceries for a family that didn't exist. And the third, I can't say too much, but it involves handprints on a 3rd-floor window from the outside. If that sounds like something you want to hear, make sure you're subscribed, because that video drops tomorrow. I'll see you then. And until then, check your locks, turn on your cameras, and if you hear something tonight that doesn't sound right, don't ignore it.